Hello and welcome back to a Younger Theatre in Isolation series. I'm here today with the wonderful Jenny Sealey of Graeae. In case you haven't noticed on your screen, this is slightly different to our normal interviews because Jenny is, as you may know, deaf. So this is going to be an interesting, interesting method of engaging for us on this virtual space. And just an exciting way to look at how interviews could happen in this new way. Hi, Jenny. How are you?
Fine, hot, frustrated, concerned, all the different things everyone is feeling from being locked down
Yeah.
every day. It is beyond surreal and scary.
I can
I can
imagine.
just mention that on the screen is my interpreter, Jude.
Oh,
Without none of this would be possible.
mhm.
The access on the screen is so vital.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jude. For those out there who might not have heard of you or have heard of Graeae, how would you introduce yourself and the work you do?
Oh, blimey. I would introduce myself as probably the luckiest theatre director in the world because I work with wonderful, extraordinary performers who, for a lot of their lives previously, have been completely marginalised, ignored, and people have just not been interested. So I'm like, bring it on because together we create wonderful stuff. New, original, enriching, accessible theatre. So that's not a very short answer. I'm a theatre director that does stuff.
that is a shorter answer, yeah. On that note of accessible then, a big part of the reason why Graeae is just so renowned throughout the world is because you do focus on an acceptable aesthetic. Now, for some of us who might not know what that term means, how does that mean in practice for you? Does that start at the creative process? Does it mean in the venues themselves? What does accessible aesthetic mean to you?
I mean, for excuse me, for Graeae, it was by default that we found the possibilities of the access in the way that we now work. And it was when I nearly bankrupted the company doing we did a freak show in a tent. It cost a lot of money. And so I had to do a small show, and someone, whoever it was, thank you, put down on my desk the Stephen Berkoff, Edgar Allan Poe, The Fall of the House of Usher. Stephen Berkoff adaptation, and Berkoff, in Berkoff way, had written more stage directions than actual text. So I wrote to him and I said, look, these stage directions are beautiful. Can I use them to be spoken live by the actors? And he said, oh, brilliant idea. And so that was the journey of when we realised that within the body of a text, there is so much you can unpick and think about how can we use every word that's been written to inform an accessible process. And what is it around the style of that show means that captioning will be a better solution, or do we need the sign language embedded within, or do we need deaf action embedded within? What is it? It's always the play that throws up the possibilities linked with that absolute desire to try and make it as accessible as it can, but artistically. So we have been in the past, being said, you are compromising on real functional access because of the art. That's always the risk we have to take. So that's when we came up with the aesthetic, the aesthetics of access, how access emboldens us, enables us to take risks and create something very original and different.
Can say better myself. And you do create stuff very different, but you've also led the path to helping other theatre companies do something similar. I mean, Graeae offers many training courses and many different ways to help both employers and people who are disabled or deaf engage in the industry. one of the greatest success stories of this is your ensemble program. Could you talk us through what ensemble is and what you hope to achieve through it?
Well, ensemble has been part of Graeae for most of my working life there. That was just 24 years. It is born out of the frustration that there is not enough training opportunities for deaf and disabled people. There is just not enough.
No.
You know, in youth theatres, where are we? In drama schools, where are we? So I've been banging on the door for like 22 years, actually, to say to the drama schools, please open up. We need to have that dialogue. You are the best people to provide this training. We're not a training organisation. But, you know, if I get bored of doing that for so I think, well, we'll do it ourselves. And sometimes it's so much easier. And actually there is something very valuable, I think, of even if it's just termed as like a foundation course, having a group of deaf and disabled people together where they don't have to worry about access, they don't have to worry about explaining their physicality or what they can and cannot do or whatever. They just function together as a team of young people learning about becoming theatre makers. So we just provide all the access around them to enable them to get better at what we want them to be good at. It's very, very simple. And then hopefully that gives them the confidence to know exactly, really clearly, what is their access requirements and skill them up so that they are confident to apply to drama schools or to apply for work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the future is, I suppose, if I'm honest, I will always want to have an ensemble because the training and the learning that we get from our ensemble is massive. It's a two-way thing. But at the end of the day, really, it is the drama schools that need to be providing that training. We have a very good relationship with our drama schools now, and all of them now teach on our ensemble. So those teachers are learning how to adapt and change their practice. And so again, another two-way thing. For the future, drama schools will do the training.
That's a fantastic point. Yeah. And that links in quite well to what you said to Dada Fest in 2017. I mean, this idea of hopefully drama schools and actors being able to engage in the industry is full and equal. But despite that, as you said in 2017, there is still cripping up happening, which is totally galling given there is so much deaf and disabled talent. But people are becoming more aware of how crass this is and are thinking about casting in a different way. To start with, for those of us who may not have heard the term cripping up before, how would you define it?
I've just had the most fantastic conversation with lots of my staff today around all of this. It's something we talk about all the time. I suppose the basic premises is if there is a character that is a disabled character, at this moment in time where there is a real lack of parity, please can casting directors find and audition people who have that same or similar impairment. And it is very boring when casting directors and producers and directors don't even bother. They just get in a non-disabled person, shove them in the wheelchair and say, oh great, now you look disabled. It's more than that. So it's really unfair. You would never ever black up now, would you? You wouldn't do it. So why is it fine to quip up? So we have been having some rants in the Graeae Opera about Alan Cummings quipping up and what's his name, Harry Potter,
Daniel Radcliffe.
You know, in the the Old Vic. It's still happening quite a lot, and I'm bored of it. But until my argument really is, if you're going to cast Richard III, and Richard III for the first time ever was played by a disabled person, Matt Fraser, at the City of Culture in Hull. Finally, I mean, that was what, 2020 or 2018 or something?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
But some director will cast a non-disabled person in that role. Okay, acting is about being somebody else. Well, make sure that the rest of the cast is really evenly balanced. A mixture of deaf, disabled and non-disabled people. If we agree that acting is about being someone else, we can be other. Do you know what I mean? It's just...
But that links quite well to another point, which is there have been one or two big examples of disabled people being able to exist in roles that are ostensibly for disabled people, like Richard III, but also disabled characters, if you like. You had in Ali Stoker recently won a Tony for her role as Ado Annie in a revival of Oklahoma. And whilst she's the first wheelchair-bound person, or person who uses a wheelchair for mobility to win the Tony before, in your experience, do you think these one or two big examples are... Or do you think they're like exceptions to the rule, or do you think there are signs of actual progress? In your experience, do you think we're moving closer towards casting equality?
I think we're nowhere near close to casting equality, no. Well, I think one of my favourite all-time characters was Marley Matlin in West Wing.
Yeah.
She's just a shit-hot lawyer.
Very well said.
Interpreter. I mean, brilliant. And the same with the guy in Breaking Bad. Otherwise, he just played disabled. So that was very linked to his disability. But I mean, what a role model that young man is. But Marley in West Wing, awesome.
Fantastic.
I mean, America get it better than we do, but they also get it really, 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 really wrong.
Yeah, you never want America to be beating you at anything.
No. I mean, we have the most awful programme on earth, Undateables, which is just car crash television.
It's atrocious.
For people to laugh at, and I hate it. I really, really, really hate it. I think we've got a long way to go, and at the moment, we're not really in the soaps anymore. We're just not around. What is brilliant though? Years and years.
Yes, loved it.
There was can't remember the name of the character, wheelchair user. She was amazing. Ruth Madeley, fantastic. Jack Thorne is one of these writers that really pushes the agenda with directors and producers to cast deaf and disabled actors in roles that may not necessarily to be deaf and disabled people. Because he believes he's a Graeae patron, and he believes in that we are part of the fabric of society, and therefore we need to be represented equally on film, television, radio, all of them.
And on that note carry on.
No.
On that note about Jack Thorne, he's currently working with Graeae on your Crips Without Constraint programme during the lockdown, which is fantastic. For those who don't know it, it's an 11-week programme in which a play, a podcast and a picture is released every week up until June 29th. And all the work is produced, it is performed, is created by deaf and disabled performers and artists. It is a really great programme, and it is in no small part coordinated, might be the right word, by Jack Thorne, who does a small introduction and has led the conversation around it. How did Crips Without Constraint start? What was the idea behind this great programme?
Well, we started Crips with Chips, which was started by Graeae's Associate Director, Nikki Wilding, who heads up the new writing programme within Graeae with Josh Elliott. And they put their heads together and looked back at the old days, because one of the first ever plays with Graeae, the Beale did with Graeae, was Crips with, oh no, what was that? Ready Salted Crib.
Ready Salted Crib. Wow.
So Nikki just put out, said, right, we need to do a regular once a month Monday, because we've got so many writers wanting to write for us, so many people have got things to say. Let's start up a scratch Monday evenings. And that's how Crips with Chips started on our local cafe, which is our Graeae second home, provided with the chips. And it was fab. And then suddenly, oh God, we're in lockdown. We can't do it. And so many of my staff had to go, for lots of reasons, had to go and work from home before the actual lockdown. So there's just me and Kevin, my executive director in the office. I was nearly in tears. And this email came through from Jack Thor saying, Jen, fuck, we've got to do something. This is what I proposed. And it was like, oh, bring it on, Jack. But weirdly, at the same time, Nikki was having a phone call with Kev saying, we need to do something. Let's call it Quit Without Constraints. So the two things, the energy suddenly in the Graeae office was like, yes, we've got something to do. So it has been fantastic, really fantastic. Thank you, Jack.
Oh, yeah, and it has been excellent. I think we're 6 weeks in at the moment, so just past the halfway point. But some of the podcasts, some of the plays, short monologues put out so far have been incredible. I think it's a real testament not only to those working, but also to Graeae, managing to produce something during this difficult and, like you said at the beginning of this conversation, quite like emotionally tumultuous time.
I've just been rehearsing with Raji, who's doing the final one, and she's a deafblind performer.
Wow.
So she has been completely without any physical contact for some time, and is beyond frustrated about this. So social distancing for a deaf-blind person means something very different. But it was fantastic rehearsing with her, because it was the first time that she'd had access to her daughter and her interpreter, Sealey, all gloved up, masks, visors, everything. But you could just see that absolute hunger to be held, to be touched, and to sign again, have a conversation. So that's in process, but I've never directed a deaf-blind person through Zoom before. The learning was huge.
I mean, if you don't mind me asking, how do you even do that? Like, how do you manage to direct someone over Zoom and then over through the interpreter? It must be like quite like a slow process, for lack of a better word. Lots of different things could go wrong.
I mean, it was Raja just signing to me all the ideas that she's got, and she's got 1,000 ideas. I had to really rein her in. It's like, well, we might have just one of those. And then feed in some ideas for improvisations and let her sign away, and then I pick out bits that think, oh, that's rather lovely. And then together we try and form some semblance of a script. And then I took it away and wrote up all of her thoughts. And in the afternoon we re-met with her daughter, and bit by bit I give her notes, which Shandu and Sealey communicate to Raji, and she delivers. Then we both assess whether it's the right thing or not. I think it's fab.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and it was just that, but you could just see her death. She loves performing, and suddenly it felt like this outburst of stuff just pouring out for bless her.
Oh, bless. I can't wait to see it.
It's a big question that we have to have a conversation with Sense about what is the process for deafblind people in the country, and how are they accessing all the information. We've been fighting the fact that Boris has not got an interpreter when he does his daily briefings. I mean, for what reason, I have no idea. Nicola Sturgeon does. Why can't he? So deaf people are feeling furious about this. But then you think about deaf-blind, so there's a lot of work for us all to do things about accessibility, and especially that so much is online, and so much of the online outpouring is not accessible.
I mean, that brings us on to another important question, which is, because of the lockdown, we've seen a lot of theatre move on into the online space, on whether through YouTube or Twitter or Zoom calls like this. We've seen a lot of theatre, or some say make-do theatre, because perhaps it doesn't recreate the feeling of being in a theatre. But I don't think a lot of the conversation has been given towards how deaf and disabled people can access this space. Do you think the move to these online spaces has made theatre more accessible, less accessible to them, or do you think it's a conversation that's just been missed completely?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it's a bit crap, actually.
Mm.
There's a real lack of awareness of what accessibility means. And so many people rely on the YouTube CC, closed captions. Have you ever watched anything with closed captions? I
So
mean,
bad.
voice recognition. So my TED Exeter that I did at Warwick years ago still hasn't been properly subtitled. And when I last watched it, I watched it with closed captions. I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
It's shocking. Definitely didn't recognise half what I was saying. So people must not rely on closed captions on YouTube.
No.
You know, people, and there's so many people who are just capturing their own work. Little tiny companies actually take a lot more care of what goes out than the big ones. And captioning work is simple now. There is that technology. I'm saying this, I wouldn't even know where to start myself. I'm crap. But the technology is out there, so there's no excuse to have things captioned. And there is not enough that is signed. No. So I don't know where the real grassroots deaf are getting their stuff, other than through definitely theatre, Limping Chicken, BSL BT. That's only 3 avenues. Or Stoner Bear are doing some really good work. Yeah, it's disappointing.
Yeah, it must be.
Really. I don't know where the audio description is going, but our Crips with Chips is audio described and it's captioned.
I've seen it. It is a true testament to accessibility. And that's another point. The Graeae online portals, your Twitter page, your Facebook page, has become such a celebration of deaf and disabled work at the moment. You've got like all these companies you're mentioning. You're linking out towards Heart and Soul, Access All Areas. You're really making an effort at the moment to engage the community, which is so fantastic to see. Do you think? What more do you think the average user could do then to help bolster this community, which, like you said, is being sorely underutilized at this moment?
I mean, I think I hope that all the work that's been put out by Graeae, Heart and Soul, Access All Areas, all of the companies, Mind the Gap, Birds of Paradise, well, I'm sure I'm missing companies, sorry, my apologies if I've missed you off the list, but those deaf and disabled people are putting work out there. I really, really hope that it's not just seen by other deaf and disabled people. This is actually an opportunity for the more mainstream world to see what they've been missing.
Yeah, and on that note,
we need to see it as an opportunity. Yeah, I don't really know how to answer that other than that. And just the fact that at the moment we've set up Disability Arts Alliance, hashtag we shall not be removed, which is our community's gut reaction to get together to remind ourselves that we have to support and be allies with each other. And also it's based on our fear that we will get forgotten.
Yeah.
As the big institutions who are facing the same issues that we are facing, but slightly different, because we are facing a different sort of coming out of lockdown because of the nature of disability and impairment in relationship to the virus. So we've got a different fiddle to play in a way, whatever the expression might be. So, but we are so nervous. It's taken us this long to get to where we're at.
Yeah.
And we are damned if we are going to be removed. So we're fighting for the longevity and the continual existence of disability arts. So hashtag we shall not be removed, and it's all capitals, we, capital S, so on.
Fantastic.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Sorry, it was a difficult question. Speaking of opportunity then to celebrate deaf and disabled work, Graeae is leading the charge in this way, and you're putting your production of Reason to be Cheerful online from the 3rd of June to the 3rd of August. Reasons to Be Cheerful was one of Graeae's most popular and most beloved shows. You put on 3 productions, I believe. It's on a concert tour, and its hit song, Spasticus Autisticus, was even performed at the 2012 Paralympic opening ceremony, which you co-directed. How did this conversation begin about getting Reasons to Be Cheerful out there?
So we had a streamed version which went to local communities in 2017. So we knew we had the film. But it was people emailing us saying, please will you put Reasons online? We need a reason to be cheerful, and that show is one. So we answered to public demand, actually, and I am beyond excited that this is happening. It's one of the most joyous shows I think I've ever worked on. I mean, I love all of my shows that I've ever done with Graeae, all the shows we've ever done. But this one, it's the weirdest thing. It stays in the DNA of the actors. So when we have a 2-year gap, we all get together, we start on one of the songs. The choreography, the music, everything just got bam. It's seeped into them, if you know what I mean.
No, I do.
And we've had some amazing performances, amazing tours, amazing times in Mexico, for example, and Brazil. It's been a lucky tour, a lucky show to do, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, I can't wait to see it. And it's on there for 2 months, which is so much longer compared to a lot of shows that are put online at the moment. You're really giving the opportunity out there for people to see this work.
I've still got friends who haven't seen it, so I'm beyond excited that finally they'll be able to see it.
They've got no excuse now.
I'm going to let my mum watch it because it's quite fruity language. You know, Plasto Patricia, which Jude signed beautifully, is not without Jude expletives. And I really want this to create a new generation of Jude fans.
Oh, yeah, completely.
It's awesome.
Yeah, the blockheads through and through. Going back to what you said a moment ago, your TED talk, which you gave in 2015 in Exeter, you spoke so highly about the Access to Work scheme by the government. You called it the government's best kept secret in how it allowed disabled and deaf artists and just regular people to enter the workforce as full and equal. In the wake of the coronavirus, then, we've seen many systems get disruptive. And in fact, on the 11th of May, the government updated the details of Access to Work. Most of the systems seem to be staying the same, but one line summed it up, which was, you cannot claim help from Access to Work if you are no longer working. Which is, typical of COVID-19 to disrupt the way employment works. And it's easy to imagine how deaf and disabled people might be the first to suffer as a result of this loss of employment. Moving forward then, let's say we manage to hopefully get back to normality in society and the impact of the coronavirus is minimized. How would you like the government or big influential institutions to act in order to make sure the progress that you've spoken about for deaf and disabled artists isn't lost and they can still manage to access to work and offer invaluable arts during this difficult time?
2 things. When I was talking about Access to Work being the government's best kept secret, there was a slight irony in that, is that it was the most marvellous secret, but then after 2012, they decided to take it away from us. They chipped away at it, and they halved my allowance, and suddenly there was a whole world of deaf and disabled people fighting for any sort of access. They have changed some of the rules and regulations, certainly around the cap, but it's still not enough hours for people who have jobs like me and Paula Garfield. We're both chief executives of theatre companies. It's an ongoing battle. We have been having conversations with the DCMS who we are trying to persuade to talk to the Department of Work and Pensions to continue to support the deaf and disabled workforce, to make it more streamlined for freelancers in particular when they do get bits of work, which will be for the moment online, to have easy access to sign language interpreters, note takers, palantypists, access workers, whatever it is they need. We cannot lose it all together, otherwise it undoes all the work that we've been doing all these years. So the government, the thing is, it's the same point that I made all the way back with my TED Talks. When I work, I employ an interpreter. Jude pays her taxes. I pay my taxes. It all feeds into the economy. You know, we are not a waste of space. We are contributing. All we need is access to contribute. And one disabled person is contributing 2 people. Yeah. That makes sense.
Exactly.
So we have got to continue to fight to make sure that access to work does not just diminish and fade away. It cannot, and it must not.
No, a very good point.
It really, really does. So we've got enough bloody battles on our hands without having to have that one as well. Really, really, really.
For those of us who perhaps aren't, perhaps we're first becoming aware of this battle, of how egregious this battle is, how would you recommend we act? How can, the average theatre goer help in this battle?
I think it's understanding what access to work is and why we need it. In terms of the whole COVID-19, I keep calling it COVID. It's understanding that for many disabled people who need support, their care support workers are coming in, maybe not with the right scrubs, gloves, masks, all the rest of it. So there's another whole underlying element of risk. And for disabled people, self-isolation means something very different. So the community is dealing with a lot at the moment, and the wider world knowing this and being aware of it and gathering around us as allies, that's what we need. It's also when, I don't know whether David Burns sent it to you, our PR person, but we have the Living Declaration, which is a living declaration. It's 16 articles in around the impact of COVID-19 on deaf and disabled people and what we want in terms of engagement with the NHS. It's a global declaration. It was created by myself, artists in South Africa, New York, Brazil and Denmark, part of ENAC Lab. It's awareness, it really is, that's what we need. And come on board as allies and support and help us fight it.
Exactly. I'm sure the person who is editing this piece together will put a link to that living declaration in the description of this video, so people hopefully will see this and go and take part.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that I speak all around my house, that I make things very difficult for people to edit.
Honestly,
I'm sorry.
It's not my problem, so don't apologise to me. On a note then of positivity, almost, I think a lot of us have a lot of free time on our hands at the moment, and a big element that we've been advised to do is, in order to keep our mental health good, keep people happy. And you're obviously, just speaking to you now, a very joyous, a very kind of up, high energy person. How would you recommend to people, to get through this time high energy with good spirits? What would you recommend people sitting at home, perhaps nervous, worried? How do you get through the difficulties of this time?
I don't know, I'm trying to figure out that for myself in a way. I have a 25-year-old son who came back from travelling, ready to start carrying on being the filmmaker that he is, and suddenly lockdown. And I am so concerned for people of his generation, your generation, the little ones that are at school with their mates. I mean, the whole thing. It's everyone's mental health is at stake in terms of, and certain people who are really, really, really on their own. The lack of human contact is, I think, you know, there's something that I keep telling my staff is don't read the news, don't always watch the news. Can't. Really can't. And just do what bits you can. And certainly those all of us who are working, be mindful that Zooming is exhausting, and make sure you get time to get into daylight, and you know, things will slip through the net. For us, because we're not on the front line, if they slip through the net, it's all right.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. It's about those people who beat themselves up. Oh, don't.
No.
And I think for the arts community, you know, we've got the Living Declaration, we've got Disability Arts Alliance, and it's just been announced, if you look on the Fuel website, there's a letter to freelancers to say that the theatre community is mindful, is watching out, trying to figure out how best to continue to support freelancers. So there's a lot of positivity, and for me, I keep saying to people, let's try and find what those silver linings are, because somewhere along the line there's something out there for us to grab hold of and polish and shine and make into new creative endeavours. Don't know what they all are yet, but they're there. And it's about trying to just push the panic away, to let that heart and mind open to what can come in that is positive. Oh, it's a tough one, that. It's really tough.
Well, I think that
is... The moment is salted caramelised cream.
Oh, preach.
An awful lot. Not good for me.
Well, I think on that positive note, I think it'd be a lovely place to end this interview. Thank you so much, Jenny, and thank you so much, Jude, for spending your time to talk to us. As you've heard, Graeae have so many wonderful online services at the moment, between Reasons to be Cheerful, Crips Without Constraint, that Living Declaration, the Letter to Freelancers and Fuel. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't go and look at the amazing art and the amazing resources they have out there. Equally, A Younger Theatre has great resources ourselves out there. We have the Younger Theatre in Isolation. We've been speaking to some of the big names like Jenny in the industry, and you know, it may be a nice way to while away a few hours at the very least. So thank you again, Jenny. Thank you again, Jude. I hope you have a lovely afternoon and it's not too warm.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.